I think we should start with the origin story of your career and maybe a little bit about your family. You are a fifth generation winemaker, which is a very rare thing. So could you share the story of the Wagner family and how this all came about?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it goes back to my roots as far as winemaking roots. They go back into the Alsace region, and my family immigrated here to California actually in the 1850s. So way back, I mean, this is before really Napa Valley or even the wine country had been developed at all. Very much in a up and coming agricultural community. They were doing different grains, some grapes, a lot of nut crops, that sort of thing. And it was the Wild West. So they made their way out, started planting grapes. They made some wine. They sold it more in bulk to San Francisco, which in the 1850s, you have kind of this plethora of people coming to the West Coast for the life of being a gold digger and whatever else. So San Francisco is where they went to the Sierras, and then they brought their gold and findings back to San Francisco and enjoyed life in the city. So they had a pretty good run of it, but Prohibition, which is a bit of a black stain on the American wine culture, that shut my family down. They resorted to prunes and walnuts, but they continued to make some wine at home. And they weren't really making ends meet in the 60s, the 1960s, and so they resorted to wanting to start a commercial wine business, and they founded Caymus Vineyards in 1972 in Rutherford, right here in Napa Valley. So, not knowing at the time that Cabernet was going to be king, my grandfather, with his Alsatian roots, he thought that Pinot Noir and Riesling were going to be the varieties that he focused on. But within, I think, 5 years of production, they already had garnered some attention for the Cabernets they were producing and realized that was going to be the key focus. And today, as we know it, Caymus is still more synonymous with Cabernet Sauvignon in Napa Valley than anything else. So, as time went on and, the industry progressed, people started understanding what grapes grow well where. Just in a few decades, call it 3-4 decades, we've learned that Pinot Noir has some great opportunities to grow in the coastline of California. We have the tools to get a pretty good bearing on what to plant where. We can look at soil types. We can look at the general climate of different areas and understand, will this be possibly a suitable area for Chardonnay, for Riesling, for Pinot Noir, for Merlot, whatever it is. And so that's kind of, I think the progress in the industry has really come a long way, even in my lifetime in the industry, but really through the 80s and 90s, when people started to experiment and explore more throughout California and help create the world-class growing region it is today for wine. So, as I got involved in the late 90s, started working, and my family was, it's very much an agricultural community. My family was very much, wanting us to be kind of farm hands. So anytime I was not in school, we were typically working, which I really very much enjoyed, mostly in the grape growing side. So I ended up moving down to Mexico, actually near a city named Hermosillo in northern Mexico, and started farming table grapes. And that's where, my real career started. Rather than just summer jobs and spring jobs, that's when I decided to really dedicate myself to agriculture, and did that and very much enjoyed it, and came back to California and started working with Pinot Noir, growing it and also producing it. We had some Pinot Noir come in that we did not have a use for. And so I started experimenting and playing around with what we could do with this variety. And I remember tasting a lot of the late 90s Pinot Noirs from California. And there were a few real standouts to me that I thought were exemplary as far as what California could produce. And there were a lot of other Pinot Noir producers that were like, we need to make something like Burgundy. And so they were always focusing on emulating Burgundy. But I really felt that California's coastline did not lend itself to making a elegant, traditional Burgundian style of Pinot Noir. That the coastline of California had its own expression that needed to be adopted. And so some of those early producers, I can name them now. Pizzoni Estate down in Santa Lucia Highlands. You had Costa Brown producing some really great stuff out of Sonoma that were these big, boisterous styles of Pinot Noir. McPhail at the time. It was a small producer, and they were doing some really good stuff. Peter Michael, even from he was doing stuff out of Santa Lucia Highlands also, along with his Cabernet and his Chardonnay and whatnot. But those were some of the really exemplary styles that I felt like I want to make this really rich, robust style of Pinot Noir that I think really does capture the terroir of where we were growing these grapes. And so Belglas, its first vintage was 2001. We only had one bottling. It was a Santa Maria Valley Pinot Noir, was from the Clark and Telephone Vineyard. By 2002, I knew that the writing was on the wall. I wanted to produce vineyard designate Pinot Noirs. I think the beauty of Pinot is that it does express better than any other red variety its roots, where it's grown, the climate, the soil, cultural practices, all of that stuff. It really does express that much more so than another variety. So to have a vineyard designate program with Pinot Noir really does help convey that sense of time and place in a bottle. And at the end of the day, that's what we're all trying to do, right? We're trying to capture this character that can be enjoyed for years to come. I can't think of another product that really does that. It's a unique product where it can be enjoyed 40 years down the road, and I can look back and say, what happened? What were the dynamics of that year? Like 2011 will always ring out in my mind as a very trying, very difficult vintage. But the wines that came out of that, they're beautiful now. And you look back on it and you think, well, that vintage, it broke me down. It made me cry, but it turned out to be a phenomenal wine, and I can go back and reflect upon it, and not just enjoy it, and pair it with whatever cuisine I'm enjoying, but I can reflect back to that moment in time and that place, and it's really a special industry because of that.
Exactly, and usually it is the same. The biggest challenges reap the highest rewards. So the challenging year of the 2011 is you appreciate it more, the wine.
Exactly.
Wow. Thanks for watching this video. You can watch the full podcast episode by clicking here, or watch another interesting video by clicking here. Let's continue the discussion in the comment section, and see you in the next one.